guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm Amelia. So I don't know really how to start off this video because I've been wanting to film it for a really long time. So the video what I'm going to be talking to you guys today is kind of something like really outside of my niche, and this is something that I've never experienced ever in my entire life. So only the people closest to me know that I am currently in the process of moving out of my current apartment, and I'm moving into another apartment. And the reason for that being is because the apartment that I'm currently filming at right now, the apartment that I'm living at, is haunted. I haven't slept here the past 2 weeks. I've been staying at friends' houses, and then my parents came down, and I've been staying with them because they came down to help me move out and get everything situated for my new apartment. So this is kind of going to be like a little story time of like what's been going on, like what I've experienced, and like a little bit of what my roommate has experienced as well. She's not here right now, so I can't really have her talk about what she's gone through, but I can kind of tell you guys what I've gone through. So my roommate and I are in our sophomore year. We're both in our sophomore year of college, and we moved into this apartment brand new. A couple of my friends used to live in this exact apartment, so as soon as their lease was up, we moved into the apartment, and we moved in around August. The first like month was totally fine. We didn't really experience anything paranormal except until like I would say September. My door would start to shut randomly, or it would open randomly, and even when my door would be completely shut, the knob would move. So the door would either open by itself or close by itself. And I started experiencing this first, and I told Maddie, I was like, hey dude, like the door will either open or shut, or it'll stay shut, the door will be completely closed, but it'll make a sound like someone's slamming my door, and I'll like watch it move. And so Maddie had never seen any of this happen until like early October. I was laying in my bed and she was laying in her bed, which is the other room in the apartment, and she heard my door slam. And mind you, like my door was already shut at the time. So she immediately FaceTimed me and she was like, did you just slam your door? And I was like, no dude, like I'm in bed, like that wasn't me. And so then we were like, okay, like this is weird, like, and we named our ghost, like as a joke, Melinda. We were like, okay, like that's Melinda, like, and then she started to like shut the doors more often and do all of that, and we were like, haha, like it's Melinda, like, and all of our friends started like joking around with us too, and they like caught on. And then the hurricane happened in South Florida, so Maddie and I both went home. And when we got back the night before, I remember it was the night before like that upcoming Monday, we were in my room talking, and we were like, ha ha ha, like there's no ghost, we're just psyching ourselves out, like whatever, like it's probably our neighbors or probably like the people underneath us. And then that night, Maddie went to bed. After she left my room, she went to bed, and I went into the bathtub for like an hour, like 2 hours, and I was just studying for a quiz I had the next day. And so when I woke up that morning, I was freezing cold. Neither of us left our rooms once. Like after Maddie left and she went into her room, she never came back outside to the living room or to the kitchen, which I didn't as well. As soon as I got out of the bath, I brushed my teeth, I showered, and I hopped in bed. And I remember it was like 3:30 in the morning. I was laying in my bed and the lights in our kitchen went on, and pots and pans started moving around, and I was just thinking to myself, I was like, okay, it's Maddie, she's probably just making ramen noodle, like it's fine, it's whatever. And then I remember waking up the next morning and being freezing cold, like literally freezing cold. And I normally sleep in like a t-shirt or shorts, so like I was arctic cold in here. And Maddie and I kind of like both met each other in the living room, like the living kitchen area of our apartment. And she looked at me and she was like, hey, were you like cooking last night? Like I figured you were like cooking like after you got out of the bath, whatever, you were hungry. And I was like, no, because I thought you were doing the same. So then immediately Maddie and I were so scared out of our minds. And then we went over to the thermostat and saw that it was at 58 degrees, which we never leave it any lower than 70 degrees. So that was like a big red flag to us, and we were like, okay, like that's freaky. So then basically Maddie had reached out to her best friend from home's mom's friend, who's a psychic, and she knew exactly where we lived. Like, she knew the location of the apartment, she knew everything that was around us, and she had told Maddie that, I'm sorry, I'm like fidgeting with my hair, I'm getting nervous talking about it in here. She had told Maddie that there's a man who's like occupying our space, and that his name was Antonio, and that he had died here like 100 years ago. And so yeah, so that's what we knew going in. And then the night that we found that out, I remember Maddie was, that's my aunt, she's like moving around in the kitchen, so it's not the ghost. But I remember Maddie was leaving to go get Panera, and as she was leaving, it was like a Friday night, so I was taking off my makeup from school and I was gonna put on new makeup to go out for Friday night. I remember my door was shut, and I heard her shut the front door, because it's right next to my bedroom, so I can hear that immediately. She shut the front door to go to pick up her Panera, and as soon as, like a couple minutes after she slammed the door, there was like scratching and gnawing on my bedroom door. And so then I was like, oh my god, like, I was like, that's him, like, he's trying to make himself present, like, this is terrifying. And Maddie's bathroom is adjacent to mine, so it's flipped. So her bathroom and my bathroom are on the same wall, but just separate rooms. And as he was whatever was scratching and gnawing on my door, it was like a constant, like, it was like a rhythm. There was tapping coming from Maddie's bathroom, and it was like a, so at the same time I heard, so then I call Maddie, and I'm like crying, and I'm like paralyzed, I like couldn't move, and I was like, Maddie, you need to get home ASAP, like, there's whatever is going on, like, literally is coming towards me, I don't like it, I don't know what's going on, like, you need to come home ASAP. And so then Maddie said that she put her key through the door, and she put her key to unlock the door, and then as soon as she unlocked the door, the key flipped back, and so then she had to unlock it again, and then immediately as she opened the front door, all of those noises just stopped. So then, like, that night I had a panic attack, and I was like, I can't live here, like, this is terrifying, like, this is ridiculous, like, whatever is here needs to go away, like, I can't do this, like, I can't, like, he's craving, like, attention, like, whatever's here is trying to get our attention, he's got my attention, I'm terrified. And so then things started to settle down for like a couple weeks. It was like minor things, like the doors would shut. It sounded, sometimes we could hear like footsteps around our kitchen, which really freaked me out, and I know it freaked her out as well. We wouldn't go to bed till like 2 every night, and we would text each other if we heard like sounds from the kitchen or the living room. So the night of Halloween, we had gotten back from our Halloween party, and my friend Sarah was the DJ that night, so me and Colton were like, okay, we are like starving, like we want Taco Bell. And so Sarah and Serena, our 2 other best friends who came back with us, they had left their clothes and all of their stuff in my apartment. So I gave them my key, and I was like, hey, go run upstairs, like go grab your stuff, we'll wait for you here. And so they did, and so they sprinted out of my apartment so quick, and they ran up to Colton and I, and we were like, what's going on, like what's wrong? And they looked terrified, but Serena said that she and Sarah walked into the room and they had seen, like, this is my bed, and this is like the layout my bed's always been. They said they saw like a blue orb around my bed. After seeing the blue orb, Serena and Sarah just wanted to go home, and ever since then Serena's been terrified of our apartment. And she said that she saw the blue orb and then it moved, like it literally just disappeared as soon as they saw it. Which is honestly like so freaking to me, because I've never seen orbs, but Maddie, my roommate, has. So later that night, me, Colton, my best friend Sarah, and my other best friend Gio came back to my apartment. Sarah and Serena had left. They went back to school. And so I was like laying in my bed, and they were like making fun of Antonio, our ghost. And so they were like, let's do a seance, and it's Halloween, like, well, and I was like in my bed, and I can see the living room from my bedroom door. So I told them, I was like, guys, don't do it, like, don't harass whatever's in here, like, literally stop, don't do anything. So they did it anyways, and they like held their hands together around our chandelier in our living room, and they're like, Antonio, if you're here, like, make yourself present. And as soon as they said that, there were like 3 ginormous knocks on our front door, and it basically like shook my entire apartment. And so then they all ran into my room, and right across from my bed is my window. So they looked out the window, they didn't see anyone at the front door. So then we were all freaked out, and I decided to go back to school with them that night. It was around like 2 o'clock. We decided to leave my apartment and go back to school. So that weekend I didn't stay at the apartment. I ended up staying at Lynn until Maddie got back. But ever since then, I've been kind of scared of our apartment. And things kind of settled down. Nothing much really happened until like 2 weeks from when I'm filming this now. So more things started happening. Like, we would hear every single night, we'd hear shuffling in the kitchen. Pots and pans would moving. It sounded like sometimes there were people like multiple people talking out in our living room. Like my light back there, it's fixed now, but my light used to flicker ridiculously off and on as I would talk. And when I would leave the room, it'd flicker like crazy, and then I'd come back in the room and it would stop. And that could honestly just be like an electrical like problem. But yeah, so then things started getting like really bad. And then the last straw for me was I was showering last week, and as I was in the shower, you know, like the inside part that goes into your shower and the outside part that like sits outside of the tub, the outside part literally flew up. Like it just flew up. And so then I screamed Maddie's name, and I was like, you need to get down, like you need to come and sit in the bathroom with me while I shower. And she did, and that was like great because I was like basically shitting bricks. So my mom is Thai Buddhist, and so after I got out of the shower, I called her and I was like, hey mom, like whatever's in here is honestly getting worse and worse as time progresses, and it does not want us in here. Whatever's in here is just like not good, and I haven't slept in weeks. Like I haven't been eating right. I always feel like there's someone behind me. Like I need to figure out what's going on. And so my mom was like, okay, well, she knew there was a temple 30 minutes away. So we had the monks come over last Thursday, and today's currently the following Wednesday. So we had the monks come and we prayed with them. It was me, Maddie, and then our best friend Zach. We prayed with them for a little bit, and then they started chanting, praying for the house and praying for us, our well-being. And as they were praying, the lights in my room were going absolutely insane. It sounded like someone was throwing like a ball around in my room. It sounded like things were like falling off of Maddie's like desk and her dresser in her room while they were praying. And the floors were shaking. Like the entire apartment was shaking. And I remember like just being there, and I was shaking. Like I had my hands like this. I was shaking so bad. And I looked over and I looked at Maddie, and her hands were shaking just as bad. Her entire body was shaking just as bad as mine. And then I looked at Zach, and he was on my right, and Zach's entire body was shaking also. And Zach has only been to our apartment once previous before them. So I tapped Maddie, and I was like, hey, are you okay? And she was like, yeah, I'm fine. And then I tapped Zach, and I was like, hey, are you okay? And it took Zach a second to, I guess, like process what I said, but the way that Zach looked at me was the most terrifying thing ever. I've never seen Zach look that aggressive or that angry, but he had his hands down and he looked to the left of him because I was on, he looked to the left of him because I was on his right, or I was on his left. He was on my right. He looked up and he like rolled his eyes at me and was just like, he mumbled something, and I was like, okay. And then I looked at Maddie, and I like nudged Maddie, and I was like, dude, like I'm like really worried about Zach. Like that was weird. And then the monks left. They sprinkled holy water around our apartment. They left. Zach and I were in my room, and we were talking about like how we felt and what was going on, and like the things that were happening while they were praying for us. And Zach told me that from his right shoulder, he heard someone like whispering in his ear, and it was like a man's voice. And I was like, okay, well, what did it say? And Zach told me, he was like, I couldn't make out whatever it said. It was in a different language. And I was like, oh my god, okay, well that's not good, like whatever that is, that's not good. And then I was like, okay, what else happened? And he told me that he kept hearing a name repeating over and over again, and I was like, okay, what did it start with? And he was like, I don't remember, I think it was an A. And I was like, well, was it Antonio? And he was like, yeah. He was like, I think that's what it was. And I was like, oh my god, like that's crazy. And then the more we started talking about it, my lights on my counter started absolutely going insane. So Zach and I were like, okay, it's time to get out of here, like we gotta leave. And then that night was also my best friend Sarah's birthday, so me, Maddie, Lily, we're all getting ready at my apartment for Sarah's birthday dinner, and me and Lily walked in my room and we were talking for like 10 minutes, everything was fine. And Lily was like, oh, well, at least your lights aren't flickering now, like that's fine. As soon as she said that, my lights started going absolutely crazy. Yeah, and then we set up a camera at dinner while we were gone, just to have it facing the living room to see if anything would happen while we were gone. And I'll put the clip in here. That night, after Sarah's birthday dinner, a couple of my friends came back to my apartment, and I ended up sleeping in between two of my friends. And one of my friends woke up in the middle of the night and looked at me, and I like looked at him and I was like, are you okay? And then he was like, no. I was like, what's wrong? He was like, did you grab my stomach? And I was like, no, like what's up? And he said that he felt like two hands like wrap around his waist. And I was like, no, I didn't do that. And then the next morning my other friend woke up and it was hot in my bedroom, and there's three of us sleeping in like a queen size bed, and we each had our own individual blankets, so we were all giving off like a lot of body heat, and we were all like sweating. But the next morning my other friend woke up and said that it was so hot in the room, but like once he like woke up because he felt just a brush of airflow on him. And I was like, that's weird, because my AC vent's all the way over there. And he was sleeping over there. So yeah, so that happened. And then I was like, that's it, I'm not staying here. I got all my stuff. I stayed at my friend's house for the weekend. And then my mom had called me when I was at Lily's house. And I was like, hey, like what's going on? And she told me that she had talked to the monks. And the head monk who did the chanting said that he had a dream about Maddie and I Wednesday night, the night before he came to the apartment. And he saw Maddie and I, and he saw a little girl. Which like gives me the chills and like freaks me out even more. So then my mom and my aunt and my uncle wanted to come down and see for themselves like what was going on in the apartment. They got in this past Sunday. We went out to lunch around like 11 o'clock and came back to my apartment because they were exhausted from traveling. So my mom and I were taking a nap in my bed, and my aunt and uncle were on my couch in the living room. And my mom said, well, she woke up from a really bad dream and said that she had a hand like this on her right shoulder. And I was on the right of her. And I was cuddling her, but my hand wasn't on her shoulder. And she said that in her dream she had a hand on her right shoulder, and she woke up and saw the hand and looked out to the living room, and the door was open, and my aunt and uncle were standing. And she was screaming like bloody murder. She was like telling them to like help her, and that like she was like, help me, help me, help me. And they couldn't hear her. Which to me is just like a red flag right there, which means that like whatever's in here didn't want my mom to be in here. And so that was like the last straw for me, and this is like my first time being back in my apartment for longer than like 10 minutes. So if you guys have ever had an experience like this, or know anyone who's had experiences like this, let me know in the comments below. I would never wish any of what I experienced or my roommate experienced on our worst enemy. I haven't been sleeping, I haven't been eating well. Before my parents came down, I was like distressed. I was distressed all the time. I wasn't sleeping, I wasn't eating. I wasn't even myself. whatever was here was putting, no matter if something was here or wasn't here, it was putting emphasis on me, and it wasn't allowing me to be the best version of me. And I have never experienced anything Did you guys hear that?
Yeah, no.
And I've never experienced anything paranormal like this before in my entire life. And so ever since experiencing this, hopefully whatever this is, you know, goes to the light or goes to wherever it's supposed to be. And while Maddie's here, doesn't bother her at all. But thanks so much for watching, guys. I know this was probably like a really long video, but I just wanted to come on and share my story with you guys, just because this was such an out-of-body experience. I've never experienced anything like this, and hopefully I never will have to, and hopefully none of you guys will ever as well. But thanks so much for watching. If you like this, give it a big thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe. See you in my next video.